That's enough, Gonta. We already know.
Know what?
We know that you totally forgot about teaming up with me and killing Mew.
Wait a minute! That lie! Gonta not kill Mew! Why would Gonta do that?
Yeah, it's a lie! I'll never accept this!
Yeah, I'm interested in how.
And besides, Gonta's got no motive to kill Mew!
I already gave you my testimony on how I came up with the murder plan.
And I'm saying I don't believe you!
Kokichi, if what you're saying is true, why did you plan it this way? You wanted to plan the murder yourself, but have someone else carry it out?
Is the person who planned it also included as a blackened with the perpetrator?
No.
Nope! Only the person who actually commits the murder becomes the blackened!
Then there's no incentive to just plan the murder.
Unless you split the
But
votes.
Gonta's such a gentle soul. Why would he agree to this?
Hold on, that hasn't been decided yet!
Who cares about the motive? Let's vote for the culprit already!
I care about the motive!
Well, I don't care. Finding the culprit is more important in this class trial.
The motive was pretty irrelevant to the actual trial in the last case. Didn't find out the motive until after.
Talking about the motive is meaningless. It's not necessary for this specific case.
No matter what you say, I'll never believe your lies!
We all agree that Gonta is the culprit, right? It would be impossible for anyone but him.
Impossible? Why?
It's pretty obvious if you use the process of elimination. Which means, Shuichi, you'll be my partner, right? Because if you don't face the truth, then we'll all die, right? And you don't want that, do you? Okay, let's begin!
Quit screwing around! I'm done putting up with your selfish bullshit!
Kaito, we should listen to his explanation. Our lives depend on it.
So, we can now take Keyboy, Himiko, and Maki off the suspect list. Shuichi, would you care to explain? I doubt they'll believe it if it came from me.
Reason, well, we know this. Couldn't access the crime scene.
They couldn't get to the crime scene, could they?
The bridge from the chapel to the mansion was gone, and only Mew could pass through the wall. The three at the chapel had no way to get to the mansion, so they couldn't have done it. Kaito is the next one off our suspect list, and you know why, right?
Because he was logged out.
Kaito had logged out ahead of us.
Mew logged Kaito out from the start. But she did that to make us think the murder happened in the real world, right? Since we figured out the actual killing happened in the virtual world, it would have been impossible for Kaito, who had already logged out. Mew's time of death was around 6:30 in the morning. That's after Kaito logged out.
Kokichi's completely running the show now.
Yeah.
My synergy with Shuichi is super on point now, so let's move on to the remaining suspects. Gonta, Samugi, Shuichi, and me. Samugi and Shuichi can be crossed off. But what's the reason for that?
Then solid alibis, I guess. Each other.
Tsumugi and I are witnesses to
Yeah.
each other's alibis.
Both of you heard Mew hitting the chapel wall, right? The culprit was definitely on the roof during that time, since they slid Mew down. Because of that, Shuichi and Samugi can't be the culprit. That leaves only Gonta and me as the remaining suspects.
Then you're the culprit!
Sorry for getting your hopes up, but didn't I already explain that's impossible?
So why did... He couldn't have killed me.
If Mew touched him, he'd freeze in place. Kokichi wasn't capable of strangling her.
So then, it's down to one person. And who was that again?
Not Gonta.
Well, who is it?
Don't answer, Shuichi! You don't need to answer that! This is all Kokichi's trap!
There's only one suspect left. Only one person could have done this. Gonta. How did Kokichi convince him, firstly? And why? The motive is sort of relevant.
It's Gonta.
Because also, why would he then solve the case himself?
Shuichi?
Yep, Gonta is the only person who could have committed the murder. You get it now, right? That's the truth we were all reaching for. The thing you guys wanted so badly! A truth without any lies! Mew Iruma's killer is Gonta Gokuhara!
Really? Did Gonta really do it?
Jeez, is that really your reaction? It would have been fun if you went all crazy.
Yeah, I don't see like a final thing, unless it's against Kaito in defense of Gonta. But I can't see Gonta defending himself.
But you forgot everything, so oh well. A culprit who can't remember their murder is pretty interesting. So, better than nothing. If Gonta remembered, his cover would have been blown so fast. Especially since he's an idiot.
Hold on. I still haven't accepted this. This has gotta be Kokichi's trap. I still believe in Gonta. He's not the kind of person who'd kill.
Kaito.
I already said this a million times, Kaito. You shouldn't use emotions
You
to
want proof? I've got your proof. After Tsumugi and Shuichi heard Kibo's voice in the mansion, they ran outside. And who did they see out there?
Gonta, did you see Kiba around here anywhere? No, Gonta not see him. Yeah,
Gonta.
Kokichi said it himself.
he used the toilet paper to get
When Mew's
climb down.
avatar crashed into the chapel wall, the culprit must have been on the roof.
I see. If Gonta's the culprit, it'd be weird if he wasn't on the roof.
It's possible that he fled the mansion after he heard the impact.
You'd have to go through the entrance hall to get outside the mansion from the roof. Is that where Shuichi and Tsumugi ran to when they heard the crashing sound?
Then maybe he jumped off the roof.
That's not possible. That rooftop was pretty high up.
Normally, Gonta could have done it, but his avatar wasn't strong
Could
enough.
Gonta have normally done it?
How about that? Now you get it, right?
Still high, very high roof.
If Gonta was the culprit, there's no way he could have been outside the mansion.
Now you can't say Gonta's the culprit. Congrats, Gonta!
Yeah, don't get his hopes up.
What? Really?
It would have been so nice if that were the truth. Kaito were right, and this horrible trial would just end. But
No, that's wrong.
What?
Just because Gonta was at the mansion doesn't mean that he isn't the culprit. All the culprit needed was a way to get from the roof to outside the mansion.
Huh?
Looks like Shuichi got it. I'll leave the rest to him.
Kaito, I know how you feel. I know because we all feel it. But we have to face the truth. No matter how cruel that truth may be, we need to face it to survive.
Whose side are you on, Shuichi?
Kaito, please!
Aren't you my sidekick? Was that just a lie?
Kaito!
Fine then! I'll tear that
Yeah.
sorry reasoning of yours
Figured it'd
apart
be
and wake you up!
Kaito doing the final argument. Can't do my detective work now. I was all to survive. I can't back down.
I'll never accept this!
It does make
Don't
me
you know
concerned
Gonta at all?
that Well, I
He's
guess
not
that's
the
not
kind of guy who kills someone.
that I'd never have one of these with
Don't
Kaito
you know
in
that
his own
about him
case,
by
but-
now?
Right, good thing he won't have his own case.
I'll never accept this! Don't you know Gonta at all? He's not the kind of guy who kills someone. Damn it! Why won't you believe Gonta? Why are you... Damn it! Remember what Kokichi has done to us! Damn it!
There we go.
There's no way to leave the mansion from the rooftop!
Discovered toilet paper. Outside of the mansion.
Who do you want to believe?
Toilet paper discovered
There's
outside.
no way to leave the mansion from the rooftop!
Really?
Who do you want to believe?
Toilet paper outside of the mansion discovered? No? Yeah, no.
Who do you want to believe?
Yeah. I'll try the first one again in case I somehow got that one wrong, but... After the whole thing again. Ugh. Let's try discovered
There's no
first.
way to leave the mansion
Discovered
from the
toilet paper
rooftop!
outside of the mansion. Nope.
Who do
Okay.
you want to believe? There's no way to leave the mansion
Toilet
from the
paper discovered
rooftop!
outside of the mansion.
It ends here!
Wow.
Damn it!
Really? I didn't try toilet paper first?
The toilet paper we found outside the mansion.
Well, I got there.
That's what the culprit used to get from the roof to the ground.
I'll be cutting most of that from the video.
Toilet paper?
The same toilet paper that was used as the murder weapon. That's why we didn't find it anywhere else. Not at the scene of the crime, nor on Mew's body. It was outside the mansion.
Hold on. If they used the toilet paper as a rope to get down from the roof,
Was Kokichi sitting next to Gonta? I was wondering if Kokichi knew the wires were switched.
then they need to tie it to something. But there was nothing to tie it to.
Yes, there was.
I know because I investigated the roof.
Well, if you forgot the one thing that's on the roof, then that's a pretty poor job investigating.
You're stubborn, Kaito. You're still going on about this.
Of course I am! I'm gonna believe in Gonta till the very end!
No, there was something that the toilet paper could have been tied to.
What?
There!
The binoculars.
The binoculars on the rooftop. The toilet paper could have been tied there. However, I don't think the culprit actually tied it down there. They just hung it. And then used the doubled up toilet paper to climb down. But in that case, they would have had to tug on it in order to take it down.
Yep, that's correct. Because I came up with that idea.
Really?
But I thought I told Gonta to put the toilet paper back in the bathroom. Oh, I guess he ran into someone on the way and then threw it somewhere close by.
How did Kokichi convince him? That's just what I want to know. Like I have to load that.
Looks like Kaito's morale is shot, so this whole thing is done now.
The matter does appear to be settled.
That... it's...
So, it's true. Going to really kill Mew.
But I'm the one who came up with the plan. Anyway, just admit your crime, Gonta. Even though you don't remember, you still did it.
But why did Gonta do such terrible thing?
Oh, Gonta.
Wait, before you start crying, you gotta admit your crime first.
Stop. I won't let you, Kokichi. If anyone is gonna get him to confess, it's me.
Okay, well, that sounds harsh. He can't confess. He doesn't remember.
Gonta, I'm going to look back at the whole case one more time, okay? When you're convinced, you just let me know, all right? Let's end this together.
Ugh. My heart.
Okay.
Okay, let's do this. The culprit was investigating outside. I mean, if you just say he's the culprit, that's influencing him a bit too much if this is how you are explaining to him what happened.
This is the truth of the case!
Act 1.
The case began last night.
Where's Gunter? Just behind it? Away from everyone else?
After being convinced by Mew, we all logged in to the virtual world. To log in, you have to plug the memory and consciousness cords into the device. So, we all plugged those cords into our helmets and entered the virtual world. But the culprit had accidentally plugged their cords into the wrong ports. Because of this, a connection error occurred between the culprit's brain and their avatar.
As if you're assuming it's Gunter. I mean, I know we've pretty much proven it, but still.
As a result, the culprit would forget everything that happened in the virtual world. It's possible that this had an effect on their avatar's personality as well. Because I can't believe that someone so kind could commit murder. But we had no idea this error even happened. And so, we all logged in one by one. Meanwhile, Mew was the last to log in.
What are those single cords coming out the back of the head?
She had modified the killing game simulator so she could accomplish a specific goal. After Mew confirmed we were all logged in, she took out the bottle of poison and placed it on Kokichi's seat. This was done to make it look like Kokichi was killed by poison when we returned. Yes, the reason Mew modified the simulator and brought us to the virtual world was to kill Kokichi in the virtual world, but make it look like he had died in the real world. After we had all logged in, Mew explained the world to us. Use the salon phone to log out, objects are unbreakable, your avatars use all 5 senses. She also explained the map of the virtual world in the mansion's entrance hall. But her explanation was intentionally false. She wanted us to misunderstand the world. However, one of us was able to see through her scheme.
It's interesting how she was going to murder someone.
The very person Mew was trying to kill, Kokichi. Kokichi was going to use Mew's plan against her and plotted her murder. But Kokichi wouldn't do it himself. He used a patsy to be the culprit in this case.
So I guess he just... Okay, so his goal wasn't to win the game. It was just to kill the person that tried to kill him without doing the killing himself.
Kokichi was tight-lipped about the motive, so I don't know why the culprit agreed. But it seems as though right after logging in, when Kokichi and the culprit went outside, they were already working together to execute the murder. Eventually, we met up with Kokichi and crossed the river to the chapel. Mew had us split up to try to find some secret of the outside world.
This is very adorable art style.
Kaito, Kokichi, Gonta, Tsumugi, and I investigated the mansion, while Maki, Himiko, Kibo, and Mew investigated the chapel. Splitting us up was also part of Mew's plan. At the chapel, Mew told Maki that she was going to look around outside. She chased after our group while we were heading toward the mansion. Once she made sure we were across, she dropped the bridge into the river.
Considering she did it so on purpose, I don't see how she thought she'd get away with murder. Like, I think they still would have figured out everything.
This was to trick us into thinking that the river separated the mansion and chapel. At the time, we thought nothing of it. It was just another one of Mew's pranks.
Yes, you know, all those pranks she pulls.
That's why we continued with the original plan to find the secret of the outside world. We went to the mansion and split up to look for clues. Kokichi searched the salon. Kaito searched the roof. Tsumugi searched the dining room. I searched the kitchen. And finally, the culprit searched outside the mansion.
Again, if you assume.
Around that time, Mew was headed for the wall that was on the side of the chapel. She passed through the wall and headed for the mansion to kill Kokichi. You see, the wall was a special wall that Mew had added herself. This wall was programmed so that only objects could pass through. And Mew had changed her avatar settings from human to object. That was the hidden route she prepared for herself. She set up a wall that only she could pass through. Mew headed toward the mansion, but she was seen by Tsumugi on the way. When she entered the mansion, she pulled out her cell phone. She didn't tell us that there was another way to log out.
She looked at Kaito.
Then, she spoke a name into the phone, which forced that person to log out. It was Kaito who was on the roof at the time. The same roof where Kokichi and Mew were going to meet. By having Kaito search the roof and then forcing him to log out, she was making him look the most suspicious, but her plan didn't go smoothly. Kokichi was waiting on the roof with the culprit and the toilet paper used to kill Mew. While Mew was distracted by Kokichi, the culprit snuck up from behind.
Okay, I guess I never really thought about Kokichi actually being there when it happened.
And used the toilet paper from the mansion's bathroom to strangle Mew. This was only possible because objects in the virtual world are unbreakable.
But I still don't get how she moved in the real world.
Mew's avatar was strangled to death, and the shock killed Mew in the real world.
She was grabbing at her throat in the real world.
After the murder, Kokichi left the cleanup to the culprit and left the roof. He probably returned to the salon as soon as he could to avoid drawing suspicion.
So is no one else going to pick up that?
The
that just
culprit then
revealed
took
that
the lattice from the storage room
Shuichi lied about being in the salon waiting for Kokichi.
and placed Mew's body on top along with the hammer and the cell phone. The culprit heaved the lattice over the railing and forcefully slid it down the roof slope. With a body on top of it, the lattice became a makeshift sled and flew off the roof.
But what was their plan? Like, they must have assumed it would hit the wall.
It went through the wall that only objects can pass through before crashing into the chapel. That was the crashing sound that Kibo heard in the chapel and we heard in the mansion. Mew's wall hid the fact that the mansion and chapel were actually right next to each other. That's why Tsumugi and I were able to hear the crash from the mansion. As the final step, the culprit had to then get off the roof. Because we were at the mansion, they couldn't take the stairs or they'd be seen. So they used the toilet paper again to escape from the rooftop. They hung the toilet paper from the binoculars on the roof and used it like a rope to climb down. Once the culprit was safely on the ground, they pulled at the toilet paper to retrieve it. They would have returned it to the bathroom, but they ran into us as we were leaving the mansion.
Like, if we
In
threw
a
it
panic,
anywhere else,
the culprit tossed the
that
toilet
would make
paper
things a
somewhere
little bit harder to
nearby.
figure out. Maybe.
Without that one little mistake, we might never have solved this case because the culprit doesn't remember. This is the truth you've forgotten, Gonta Gokuhara, the ultimate entomologist. Gonta, this is the truth we've reached.
Sorry. Going to not really understand. But if everyone agree, then everyone probably right.
Gonta, not smart boy.
Going to trust everyone.
Gonta.
But why? Going to kill Mew, forget everything. Going to even think he not do anything bad. And then going to try to blame someone else and make everyone suffer. Why? Why going to do such terrible thing?
Gonta, it's not your fault.
It's Kokichi's fault. He must have tricked Gonta.
Huh? I totally didn't trick him. Before we go into that, it's voting time. We should finish up the class trial first.
I feel like you should explain to Gonta what happened.
But is this the right answer? We're not being fooled by Kokichi?
For once, I wish that we were.
Huh? Wrapping things up already?
It sounds like it's a bit more perky.
What a buzzkill of an ending! It lacks the rush of previous voting times. Well, after so many killing games, I guess it was bound to happen eventually.
It's just as well. This killing game is a bad influence on the baby.
Oh my, Monotaro. You're even starting to look like a father.
Yeah! I gotta get my act together for the baby.
Now then, pull yourselves together and
He's like,
let's
yeah,
begin!
I don't want to reference this. I don't even want to think about it. It's two children.
The heart-racing excitement as the blackened and the spotless face off. It's voting time!
What if I don't vote for him? We'll just...
It seems the voting has finished. Now then, let's see the result.
What if I voted for Kokichi, actually? No, it wouldn't matter. Like that Gonta did. Well, maybe knowing Gonta, he probably voted for himself. And that vote's probably Kaito or someone.
Who'll be chosen as the Blackened? Will you make the right choice or the dreadfully wrong one?
I think we made the right one, but not a good one. Gonta. Did they even see the murder? Like, how do they know he's the guilty one?